Don't all speak up at once. Go ahead, Chad.
Hi, Fran. Just checking in, looking ahead to this weekend. Have you guys been trying to schedule any replacement games for Nebraska, working with the Big Ten on that?
No, we're just really focused on Indiana. I'm sure the league is working on that, Chad.
Yeah.
It's probably doable, but probably a little more complicated than it might appear. It's obviously new territory for all of us, and you're working with a lot of different networks. And then you got to, find out when those teams can play. So I think it's just going to be, movable parts. That's all.
So you think it might happen still, possibly, or no?
I think there's a possibility games could be changed, moved, added. Yeah, I do. But I don't have any definitive answers for you as to what.
Don Doxey, go ahead.
Yeah, Fran, tell us a little bit about what you think about Indiana. It looks like they're a really, really good defensive team, as always.
Very good defensive team. They got a lot of weapons. They're deep. They got one of the best players in the country. And Trace. I think Race Thompson is really taking his game to another level. I think you saw that at the end of last year. You saw that coming. But, they got a lot of good players. Franklin, Durham, Finney. They're young guys coming off the bench. So there's a lot of ways they can go.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Fran, I wanted to ask you about your three forwards coming off the bench, Patrick, Jack, and Keegan. Have you ever had kind of that skill set off the bench with what they can do in terms of block shots, getting to the free throw line, offensive rebounds, all they bring you?
No, is the answer to that question, Mark. Usually those guys are, those players of that caliber are starting. So it's nice to have them, in particular because of, I think, what you mentioned. Their skill sets are versatile. They can all guard more than one position. All three of them can make a three. All three of them can put it on the deck. And what's been interesting is that they seem to all play well together when they're out there together. So it's a nice situation to be in. If anybody gets in foul trouble or, you want to, have a different look out there, I guess.
Jerry Miller.
Coach, what has impressed you the most about Jordan's play over the last 5 games?
I think his floor game, obviously he shot it well. And for him and for us, that's important. But, he's playing the point, and you want him to be able to make plays for other people, get the ball to the right people, throw it inside. But also we've been able to take advantage of the fact that he doesn't always have to have the ball. We've got other folks that can handle it and kind of move him around a little bit. But even then, he's finding people. So I think the complete skill set that he provides as a scorer and as a passer, and, just leadership and toughness as well.
Mike Halas.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, would have thought that the home court advantage would have waned this season without fans. But looking at the conference records, the home court is still a pretty potent thing, and it certainly has been for you guys. Why is it?
Yeah, I just think, there's some innate advantages. You don't have to travel, familiarity. But, I still kind of, agree with your original premise that it won't be as much of a factor this year over the long haul. It's just not the same. We played at Maryland. It wasn't the same as it's been when you come out on the floor at that place in years past. You guys have been there. It's a different deal. Same thing here. People come out on the floor and our place is full. It's a different situation. But, I just think teams are always going to be more comfortable at home, regardless of whether there's anybody there or not. And hopefully we can continue to play well here.
David Eichholt, go ahead.
Yeah, Fran, kind of a two-part question here, but Patrick's played, I think, 55 minutes over the past 4 games, hasn't had turnover. It seems like something's really clicked with him. And if so, what is that? And the second part of that is, do you ever just take a moment to think about Patrick's journey and now he's contributing for a top 10 team? And just, do you ever take a moment and just kind of appreciate where you guys are at now?
I do. In particular, for him, just kind of cherish every moment that he's out there and when you see him with a big smile, you see him having fun, you see him enjoying his teammates. He loves these guys. And then you see him play well, as you pointed out. He's not turning it over. He's got really good chemistry, like we said, with Keegan and with Jack. Those guys play well together, provide great length. And he's always been a player that puts a premium on winning. So he's not going to hunt shots. He never did. Even when he was the leading scorer at West High, he didn't hunt shots. He moved the ball. He shared the ball. He plays defense. He rebounds. And he's just going to keep getting better. But, I'm just thrilled for him and puts a smile on my face when I see him having fun.
Tom Kakert.
Hey, Fran, I wanted to kind of follow up on what Chad talked about with the schedule stuff. And I know maybe your attitude is more, hey, just tell us when to be there and we'll be there and we'll be ready to play. But how involved are you in this process of trying to reschedule these games?
I'm not involved at all. Mr. Barta is. I spoke to him today about it. And, it's something that they're working on. It's a unique situation, to say the least. And we'll get it figured out. We'll get the games in. But, as I said, when Chad asked the question, it's a little more complicated than it would appear. This isn't a summer league where you're just moving games around. This is major networks that want particular teams on their network, and they figure that out at the front end, and now everything has to be changed. What other programming is going on? Obviously, safety is at the front end of it. When will Nebraska's team be able to show up? When's Fred going to feel better? Same thing with Tom and his program. And we kind of built in, a 2-game cushion at minimum. That if we had games canceled in the non-conference, we were going to play 2 additional Big Ten opponents. Wouldn't count in the league standings. That was decided, but of course we got all of our non-conference games in, but we still could play, some of our 1 plays in place of another team potentially, and play that team twice. But the league's working on that. They're working with the networks. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll just tell our team, let's get ready for Indiana, and then we'll deal with the next game on our schedule.
Chad Leistacombe.
Any reason to think CJ Frederick will be limited tomorrow night? I know he had a little ankle or foot or something the other night.
I don't think so. We'll see today. We're going to practice today. We'll see how he's feeling. He's looked fine. So we'll see with him.
And do you have any thoughts on the NCAA tournament? They came out with actual dates. I know we talked last week about you wish they could push it back, but now there's firm dates. Any thoughts on how they structured it, pro or con?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, how they did it. But again, I still wish we would get the rest of the games in before we play the NCAA tournament. That's my theory, but obviously there's more to it. So hopefully we'll get our games in. Everybody else will get their games in. You want everybody to be healthy at that time. That may be an impossibility, but I think the NCAA and each institution is doing the best they can as far as testing is concerned. So, may get to the point towards the end of February, beginning of March, where we're, instead of having 3 or 4 days off, you know, you're playing 4 games in 7 days, something like that. If that's the case, that's what we'll do.
And Tom Kakert?
Fran, there was a report about the Big Ten tournament maybe moving to Indianapolis. Your thoughts on that with kind of the NCAA tournament being in
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Tom, you know, once you start hearing stuff like that, you figure it's probably just going to happen. But, you know, in terms of how it relates to us, you know, if it's in Chicago, we'll go show up in Chicago. If it's in Indianapolis, we'll show up there. I like the idea that if it was there, we, you know, hopefully would just stay there. So, you know, whatever they think makes the most sense, you know, from a safety perspective, that's what we'll do.
All right. Thanks for your time today, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it.
Last time Indiana came to Carver, you really finished strong. What do you remember about that finish, and where's maybe that rank on your top games of your career list?
Yeah, that for sure will be probably one of the most fun I've had in the game. First half, I think the first half back 2 years ago, I didn't score, I don't think, at all really in the first half. And second half, I was really quiet, and you know, kind of just like what I normally did in my junior year. I was just, you know, got the ball in the right spots and started hitting shots late game after, you know, 2 minutes left in the game. And, you know, over time, I started to take over a little more. So, you know, just the added confidence I get at the end of the game. So I think that's definitely going to rank up there for one of the top, you know, performances I've had here at Iowa.
Chad Leistko.
Hey, Jordan, I know when we talked in the summer, whenever that was, you know, you just wanted to know when your games were going to be. You wanted someone to give you a schedule. Now it seems like you have to be flexible week by week here. How is that? How are you guys dealing with that?
I think the mentality has been solid for the whole team. You know, we're sticking together and, you know, not going outside our social circles, as you can say. So, I mean, we've been really smart on who we've been around and, you know, willing to sacrifice a lot for this team to kind of explore some great adventures, I guess you could say, for this team to keep on. And we got to give a lot of credit for the guys in the locker room because we're doing such a good job of, you know, keep being smart and knowing who we're around. But, you know, it's been tough still, you know, not knowing when you're going to play, who you're going to play. But, I mean, I guess I could say I told you guys so, right? When back in the summer, I knew this was going to happen. So I think you know, my mindset of knowing that this was going to happen at some point, I think that's going to, you know, help me individually wise. And I think the team kind of figured this was going to happen as well. So, you know, whoever's thrown out in front of us, we're going to be ready to play.
Fran kind of alluded to maybe a team that's a 1-play on your schedule could become a 2-play with this if the Big Ten works it out. I mean, would you guys welcome I assume you would, an additional game against like a Michigan or an Illinois, you know, that you're only supposed to play once at this point?
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens. Obviously, you know, being a veteran here and knowing the games I've played and, you know, we have to be fresh for the Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament. I think that should be the main priority. So I think the first thing should be, you know, not willing to, you know, play, you know, 6 games in 11 days or something crazy as in the season for us to just get burnt out at the end of the season. I mean, obviously we're young and we have a lot of great guys on this team that, you know, don't get tired, but, you know, we just have to be smart at that point. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's my decision to be made.
David Eichholt.
Yeah, Jordan, I asked Connor this last week, and I want to see if I can phrase it correctly here. Is there a misconception from the public as far as what it's like to be a D1 basketball player in terms of, especially with the pandemic, it seems like when guys are struggling, they find everything other than basketball as to being the reason why, maybe like you with the podcast, but just how important has the podcast or, you know, streaming Fortnite, how has that just helped you in terms of just being mentally healthy as far as, you know, throughout this grueling basketball season?
Yeah, I think the most thing that people obviously need to know from the outside, and, you know, there's a lot of fans that are passionate about Iowa Hawkeyes, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're real people and humans, and we have to go about life on a day-to-day basis, you know, just carrying on with the normal problems that everyone has in their lives. And everyone that's dealing with, you know, mental issues during this pandemic, there's a lot of people out there in the country and the world that are dealing with that kind of stuff. And I mean, the same thing's happening with college basketball players, college football players. You know, a lot of people have spoken out about, you know, how tough it's been on a lot of athletes across the country, and being me feeling like I've kind of been a representative for a lot of college athletes across the country, and working with a lot of athletes through the NCPA, I feel like I've kind of provided that another perspective myself of how important it is to try to remain positive and not concentrate solely on looking at basketball as a job and kind of just an opportunity to just continue to be able to be out here and play. I think finding my gateway with that podcast or streaming video games, that kind of helps me mentally wise, just to take the burden off, just always concentrating on basketball 24/7.
Mike Halas.
Jordan was asked this a little while ago. Jack was asked this a little while ago. I'm sorry. Gave up what I thought was a very interesting answer. What's impressed you the most about your own team so far this season?
I think how we stuck together from the summer when it hit, the pandemic hit around spring, summertime, and being able to continue to, have this tight circle that we're in. We haven't had guys, go outside, our social circle, like I said previously, and guys that are willing to, sacrifice a whole lot of, not seeing family members, not seeing close friends right now, to kind of show that, we're locked in and willing to make the ultimate sacrifice of trying to win a national championship and try not to, go on quarantine for 14 days and miss out on a bunch of games. I think that's been really special about this group, is how locked in we are, and I'll continue to be throughout the season.
Grant Becker.
Jordan, now that we've got the dates and locations and everything set for the NCAA tournament, kind of what do you make of the way they're handling it this year? And are there any of those venues that you're excited to play at? I mean, like Hinkle Fieldhouse's place you guys haven't played. It's a historic place, going to get to host second weekend games. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I'm hoping the Big Ten, comes to the senses of moving, from the Chicago, starting with the Big Ten tournament, moving the Chicago destination to Indianapolis. I think that makes the most sense. And I've talked to a bunch of players across the league, through our group chat of, asking or kind of thinking of what best options for us as players. And I think that's the best situation to move it to Indianapolis, where, family members are going to be allowed and our family members can travel there and watch us play, for a Big Ten title. I think that makes the most logical sense out of everything. And hopefully they decide to move it like they're talking about. But I'm really excited about all the NCAA venues that we're able to play at Indiana. Hinkle Fieldhouse, like you said, is a historical arena and somewhere I've never been able to play at. But at the end of the day, you still have to continue, worrying about the next game. The next game is Indiana. So we're really happy for that to happen in the future, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Darren Miller.
Yeah, Jordan, for you personally, the last 5 games, obviously very successful. What's been clicking for you, and what's the key to maybe, continuing that success?
No shooting sleeve, just continue to not wear it. I think that will help me out the most.
Tom Kakert.
Jordan, fun question for you. Rank them, the NCAA and the Iowa City parking folks.
Oh, geez, this is going to be, I just want to say this right now. The Iowa City parking, please, I don't think any of the workers have a soul or a heart at that place. I want to make that known right now. I'm sure they're great people off of their jobs, but when they put on that uniform, I'm not sure there's a heart in them. And I really pray for them. When I go to bed tonight, I'm going to go down on my hands and knees, or on my knees, and cross my hands, and I'm going to pray for them tonight. And hopefully they find some peace in themselves when they put on that uniform tomorrow.
Grant Becker, follow up.
That one's going to be a tough one to follow up, but I just wanted to go back to what you were talking about with talking to other Big Ten players. Is that something that's like an organized group of people that you're talking to, or is it just guys from around the league that you've been talking to for a while? And how often are you guys talking? What are you talking about?
We talk about a lot of issues throughout the college basketball and college athletics world. I think our ability to kind of organize as a group, and we have further steps we're planning to take, and I believe there's a legislation that's going to be put out in the Iowa Congress soon about name, image, and likeness. And I helped with Ramogi Huma with that, with the NCPA. Back, I think a month or so ago, we met with Senator Bolden and we went over the bill, and we had some Iowa State players on the call, and we kind of just organized that and got a lot done with that bill. And, they changed the date, hopefully for July 1st this summer, for it to be in effect if it does get passed, and it sounds like it will. But kind of just like that steps being taken of, kind of finding our voice as a group of athletes, and kind of bring that to a larger scale from what we've done with Iowa, with that bill that's hopefully going to be passed this session, and then, moving towards, other states and other Big Ten teams, and willing to, talk about issues and kind of realize what everyone's kind of going through. I think that's been really important. And we obviously have bigger steps that we're trying to climb and are willing to.
All right, our final question comes from Mike Loss.
You declared war yesterday against the parking people, and I don't want to be stirring this up too much, but do you have any sort of plan?
You know me, I always have a plan. I'm not going to formally state it right now, but, we'll see what happens in the near future over the Jordan Bohannon versus parking police saga.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Jack, I'm just wondering, as a fourth-year player, when you're sitting on the bench in the early minutes of a game, not knowing when you're going to get in, what are you looking at on the court? What are you trying to determine when you get in, like what you want to, how you want to affect the game?
You're just trying to get a feel for how the game's going, how energetic the guys are on the court, and how hard everybody's playing. And when you come in, you try to match that energy and try to even bring it to a new level. You try to motivate the guys on the court and just try to come in and have a positive impact.
Tom Kakert.
Jack, is there ever any extra excitement, for an Indiana game, being a kid who grew up in Indiana for a good part of your life?
I think those games are all big for me. Just, I live just an hour and a half away from Bloomington, so I knew the area, went on a couple visits there. And I wasn't ever recruited by Archie, but when Tom Crean was there, he talked to me a lot. So early on, whenever we played them, there was definitely a huge motivation, especially my freshman year going there. That was a big game for me.
Chad Leicester.
I guess this has been known for a little while, but the NCAA came out with actual dates for the tournament, and obviously it's all in the state of Indiana. What does that mean to you as somebody from Indiana, that the whole NCAA tournament's going to be played in your home state?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. Indiana has a big reputation of being the state of basketball, and it's great for all the fans in the state, and also my family. They'll be able to go to all the games really easily, and won't have much difficulties attending them. So I think that's really exciting for me, going to my home state and being able to play there for a lot of games.
Back to Mark Emmert. Go ahead, Mark. Did you have another question?
Jack, piggybacking off my earlier question, I guess we've seen you coming in games have 6 offensive rebounds. We've seen you coming in games have 9 defensive rebounds. Some games you're scoring points, getting to the line. I mean, do you know going into a game kind of what you need to provide for your team from night to night?
More is just take what's given. Just try to bring all the energy I can off the bench, whether, we need rebounding or scoring or, whatever it may be, defensive energy. Just trying to come in and affect the game positively. That's something I know I can bring to the team every day.
Go ahead, Chad.
Hey, just with all the cancellations or postponements, with these games, how are you guys kind of handling that, amongst yourselves? Going a long time here without too many games, and I'm sure that's not, your preferred path here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but we have a veteran group. We have a lot of older guys. We've all been through a lot of adversity throughout our time here. And so I think we have a team who's very suited for this type of year. We can just focus one day at a time, one practice at a time, one play at a time, just going from game to game. We're looking at Indiana, and then after that, we'll look at the next game. But focusing on what's right in front of us is most important.
Mike Halas.
Okay, sorry. You've missed most of 2 seasons. That doesn't happen to players very often. What was it like? I mean, you knew you were going to do the one, but then to sit through a second year, how hard was it?
Yeah, it is definitely difficult. I mean, it's something that nobody really wants to go through. It's just unfortunate that an injury happened, but I think it definitely helped me in the long term. It taught me a lot of life lessons. I was able to make some really strong bonds in both my years sitting out with Jordan and CJ. And so, it helped me, prepared me for this year, I think. All the adversity I've seen in those 2 years really just, set a path for this year to be successful for our team.
Mark Emmert?
Yeah, Jack, I know early on you said you were still kind of working your way back into game shape. I guess, do you feel like you're right where you need to be right now? And how would you describe your progress that way?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I made a couple shots the past couple games. Just trying to keep impacting the team positively, just trying to bring energy, play hard, just do whatever we need to win every game.
All right. Anything further for Jack? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, Jack, I'm just curious, what's impressed you the most about this team just throughout this season so far? And maybe what's the most surprising thing that you've kind of discovered about this team that maybe you didn't know going into this season?
Yeah, I think from top to bottom, our team has had, very acute focus for every single game. And that's been huge. We haven't always played the best. We haven't won every game, obviously, but just keeping the end goal in sight, focusing on what we can control, just bringing our best, changing when we need to change, getting things better that we need to work on. I think that the focus on our team this year has been the biggest part.
All right. Anything else for Jack? Thanks, Jack. Appreciate your time today.
Good. How about you?
Good, man. Hey, so what's this season sort of been like for you? I know it was tough for you having to sit out last season. You work hard all off season, you go through the pandemic, but now you're really, I think, starting to hit your stride. I mean, just how much fun has this season been for you so far? And just how much does it mean to you to be consistently back on the court?
I mean, it's a lot of fun. Like we're having a really historically successful season. So that's obviously something that is like anybody would love to be a part of, whether you're playing or not. And so knowing that I'm a part of that is something that's really important to me and I think is really cool. And so, yeah, like last year, it's really difficult sitting out, not playing. Like I've been playing my whole life, then I wasn't playing. So now being back out there, it feels really good and I really enjoy it. And I've been having a good time and, just kind of being able, like every minute I'm out there, like I don't take any of it for granted because I know how quickly it can go away because I've been there last year. So, it's just, it feels really good and I'm really enjoying my time out there.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Patrick, I think it was probably no secret that the biggest challenge for you was going to be on the defensive end. Now that you're 12 games in or 14, how do you feel like you've made progress there?
I feel like I made a lot of progress on the defensive end. The game's starting to slow down. Like the first time I was out there, like everything moves really fast. But I feel like my on-ball defense, I feel like has always been pretty good. It's just my off-ball defense that I think needed work. And so then obviously guarding Joe Wieskamp for 2 years, somebody who's as good at cutting off screens and using screens and doing all that stuff has really helped me with my off-ball defense. So I got to thank him for that. But anyways, I would say that the more I'm out there, the more I just get more comfortable offensively and defensively as well. Just whether that's blocking shots, rebounding, I feel like I've been getting better with that.
Michael Bryan.
Patrick, you obviously haven't been around long enough or as long as Jordan has, but do you have any stories that involve the UI parking or Iowa City parking? Have you had a lot of tickets in your short time there?
Hey, I was in here when he was talking and he told y'all that he has a plan. He doesn't have a plan. He's lying. But anyways, I do not actually. Well, I got a ticket yesterday with them because I didn't feel like parking super far away. So we both ended up getting tickets. They disappeared for a while, like over break, like they weren't here. So we kind of got comfortable parking in all those different places. But yesterday, I guess she decided to make a big grand return and give like half the team tickets. So it's kind of messed up. But I don't have any like actual altercations with the parking lady as Jordan has, but I've definitely gotten my fair share of tickets for sure.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Patrick, you've gotten to the free throw line 32 times, which is a big number for a guy that plays the minutes you play. Is that a concerned effort of yours, or how do you explain how you're often going to the line?
I just try to be aggressive, just try to come in and be aggressive. I try to get to the rim and try to go downhill. I like to kind of get my driving game going first before I start shooting jumpers. So I've just tried to be really aggressive going to the rim, and you can draw a lot of fouls if you do that. So it's just kind of been a byproduct of how I play, I guess, kind of running transition, just kind of trying to do most of my damage earlier in the game around the rim. And I just being aggressive with driving and everything like that.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, Patrick, you were close with Trace Jackson Davis, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys exchanged any words ahead of the matchup? And give me some of your impressions about this Indiana team.
They're really good. They're a lot better than their record right now. I haven't talked to Trey specifically about this game. I've talked to him recently just about just random stuff. But yeah, no, I got really close to Trace in high school, so we're pretty good friends. But yeah, no, they're a good team. They got a lot of different weapons offensively, a lot of different guys who can hurt you. So we definitely got to be locked in to them. And obviously Trace has been a monster so far this year, so we definitely got to be keyed in on him. So yeah, it's a good team.
Mark Emmert.
Yeah, Patrick, I wanted to ask you about the trio of you, Jack, and Keegan, obviously coming off the bench and giving you guys a lot of valuable minutes. I guess, do you guys take pride in that? Talk about that? Do you guys have a nickname for yourself yet? How is that relationship going between the three of you?
Me and Keegan, like especially earlier in the year, and it's carried on in the conference play because we play a similar amount of minutes. We pool our stats, so like we just like whatever we combine them. So then that's how we say that we did, and whether it's a good game or a bad game, it just depends. But so me and Keegan definitely have kind of embraced that role, and Jack has kind of came along with us in that regard the more throughout the season. So yeah, I definitely would say that we don't have a name for ourselves or anything, but we definitely take pride in what we can do coming off the bench. I feel like we make a really big impact on the defensive end, especially you could see that in like the Maryland game where we went on a huge run. So I think with our length and our ability to kind of block shots, rebound, and contest shots is something that really sticks out about our second unit, and it's been really fun playing with them so far.
All right, any further questions for Patrick? All right, thanks, Patrick, for your time today. Good luck tomorrow.